You ever notice how a crosswalk sign just stands there like it has one job, and sometimes it still doesn't get the job done? That is exactly where accident injury lawyers step in when a city forgets that kids are basically tiny distracted scientists who dart into streets chasing balls and dreams. Proving inadequate child safety measures starts with a boring but mighty word called negligence. It just means someone who was supposed to protect people like a city or a school district dropped the ball in a way that a reasonable person would call careless. Lawyers usually begin by pulling records. And yes, records are the unsung heroes of justice. They request accident history near that crosswalk, because if 5 kids almost got hit in the last 2 years, that is not bad luck, that is a pattern with a neon sign on it. Next comes something called a duty of care. Cities have a legal duty to keep public walkways reasonably safe, which sounds simple until you realize reasonable is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Lawyers compare the location to safety standards set by traffic engineering groups. If the standard says a school zone needs a crossing guard or a flashing light near an elementary school, and the city skipped that step, that gap becomes very important evidence. You also have something called foreseeability, a fancy word for common sense. If a city knew kids crossed there every single day at 8 in the morning, they should have foreseen a possible accident and prepared for it. Sometimes the evidence is as simple as bad paint. If a crosswalk faded years ago and nobody repainted it, that fading line becomes a symbol of a promise the city forgot to keep. Witness statements matter too, and not just from adults. Kids notice things like whether a guard was actually present that day or scrolling through a phone instead of watching the street. Traffic camera footage is basically the silent narrator in these cases. It can show cars speeding through a school zone while nobody enforced the limit, which turns a vague argument into an undeniable video. Lawyers often bring in expert witnesses, like traffic safety engineers who explain in plain language why a certain intersection was practically begging for an accident. Experts translate boring numbers into a story a jury can actually feel. There's also something called comparative negligence, where the court looks at everyone's share of the blame. A driver might be careless, a city might be careless, and figuring out the split can change how a case unfolds. A common myth is that if a kid was jaywalking, the city is automatically off the hook. That is not usually true because a city still has to maintain safety measures regardless of a child's split-second choices, since children are not expected to think like adults. Government cases also come with sneaky deadlines called notice requirements. If you wait too long to file a claim against a city, you can lose your right to pursue it entirely, so speed matters more than people expect. Preparation is really the heart of these cases. Photos, reports, expert opinions, and witness accounts stacked together tell a story stronger than any single piece alone. At the end of the day, these cases are not about blaming random bad luck. They are about proving that safety was possible and someone chose not to provide it. If you want to learn more about accident injury lawyers and how these cases actually work, check out our links in the description at listylawyers.com.